Awesome. So I just want to let everybody know that we are going to be recording, just so everybody knows if you wanted to turn your camera off or anything. All right. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Literacy Leaders of Palm Beach County's Digital PD. Our group is always trying to come up with new ways to spread literacy throughout the community. And this year, we know it's been a little different than years in the past, but we are working through it together and we're stronger than ever, I feel. So we thought it would be fun to discuss literacy in the comfort of our own homes. So that's what we're going to do. So tonight, before we move on, I want to start with introductions with our board members. I know some of them couldn't make it, but I'm going to just introduce some of us. If you are here, unmute and say hi to everybody. So I'm going to start off with Celia Lawrence. She's our Literacy Leader Liaison.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And if you aren't here live with us, I hope you can enjoy by watching this recording. And we're so thankful for our presenters, Ms. Julie Woik and Mr. Michael Kanusky, for offering their time to come and share some of their expertise. So we're excited for this and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Our past president is Angela Gonzalez. I don't know if she made it on. Our secretary is Michelle Briding.
Hello. I'm excited for tonight, I have to say. I'm very excited.
Awesome. Me too. Our treasurer is Macy Ramirez. Our vice president is Kristen King.
Good night, everyone. I'm glad everyone's here. And thank you so much to Julie and Michael for sharing their expertise with us. Thank you.
Awesome. And myself, Kristen Casper, I'm the president-elect. And Christine Holt is our president. And you'll hear a few words from her later as well.
Right. I'll be talking a little bit later. But thank you so much to our presenters. I'm so excited to hear about your engaging topics, and we're so happy to have you here tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Well, thank you again, team board members, for putting this all together. We're excited. We have two amazing speakers here tonight. So I just wanted to put out there, if anyone wanted to become a member, please write your name or your email in the chat box below, or you can email us at literacyleaderspalmbeach@gmail.com. And we'll email you back as soon as possible. Plus, this year's membership, the fee is waived, so it's free. We like that. And just a reminder that we are recording our PD, so we can put this out on Facebook and Twitter, and so everyone will access it. So if you wanted to shut your camera off or anything, you can do that. All right. Now let's turn it over to our first guest. He works for the School District of Palm Beach County. He is the Project Connect Specialist, Michael Kanusky, and he will be presenting on merging literacy with social emotional learning. Michael, when you're ready, let me stop sharing.
All right, thank you so much. All right, see if I passed the first test of mastering Zoom here. All right. Can you all see that?
Perfect.
Yes.
Delightful. All right, well, thank you again so much, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today with the Literacy Leaders of Palm Beach County this evening. My name is Michael Kanusky, and I work for the Department of Safe School, and within that, I am in the School Climate Transformation Grant we call Project Connect, and I'm one of the specialists. And today I'm going to talk about a topic that's very close to my heart, social emotional learning. And we're going to talk about how social emotional learning and literacy can align into one framework that we can use K to 12. So I thought I would start out today by introducing myself a little bit more so you have some background on me, and then introduce the grant itself, because our grant is really integral into the academic integration with SEL, as well as a model we want to be able to sustain district-wide. Myself, I've been teaching 4th and 5th grade for 12 years, and I always was a self-contained elementary school teacher, so I always taught all the subjects. And back in 2019, I moved over to the Project Connect team when our School Climate Transformation Grant came to Palm Beach County. And just a little bit about the grant itself, back in 2014 is when the School Climate Transformation Grant was put forth in place by the U.S. Department of Education. And then back in 2019, the School Climate Transformation Grant created this project, Project Connect, and said we want 69 local education agencies, or otherwise known as districts, to be able to take this on and really build this model that they were looking for. And this went nationwide, and out of the 3,000 plus districts and local education agencies that applied, only 69 LEAs were awarded for the School Climate Transformation Grant, and Palm Beach County was one of those 69. So good job, Palm Beach County. And within that, Palm Beach County has this grant in place, and the goal of it is to build capacity at the school and district level for implementing a sustained PBS framework, positive behavior support, and integrate it with social emotional learning for both students and adults. We also have an uber-focused concentration on opioid abuse and prevention. One of the biggest things that we're looking to do is integrate PBS and SEL, and it's a perfect time for it because we have so many schools out there that are really taking their positive behavior support on their campuses and going strong with it. You look at the model schools of excellence that we have in Palm Beach County. Last year, we had a record number of gold model schools from elementary to middle to high. We have such great language being used around campus with universal guidelines for matrices for desired behaviors. We have strategies for dealing with the inappropriate behaviors, and we also have such strong PBS teams on our campuses school-wide across the entire scope, elementary, middle, and high in Palm Beach County. And then SEL really taking off in the last 5 years. We think about morning meeting. We think about Sanford Harmony, second step that's being used. We look at how explicit SEL instruction is going in elementary and middle school in particular, and then how they're using it in high school with those morning check-ins with the SEL guide. We look at how SEL is being able to be that vehicle to drive even for adults, that adult wellness. As part of Project Connect, the schools that we support are going to be able to have a wellness room. And I know the Division of Wellness is looking to scale that out district-wide, where all schools will eventually have an adult wellness room where staff can go just to de-stress throughout the day. God knows we all need that, and to be able to have that SEL piece for both students and adults is huge. I'm sure we've all seen those welcoming rituals, optimistic closure. That's SEL for adults. So being able to now take SEL and integrate it with academics is a key next step. And our grant looks to be able to be the forefront of that PBS SEL integration and scale it out district-wide in the next 4 years after our grant has run its course. So I thought I'd start today with the 5 SEL competencies. So I wanted to start here with just being able to give you an overview on why it's important, right? I'm not going to sit here and belabor and tell you, what SEL is. You already know that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the research behind SEL. I'm sure you already have read it, know about it, know why it's important. But I do want to start out by just talking about the 5 SEL competencies, and because why it's important to know about these SEL competencies for students, so that way we can see how they fit hand in hand with our literacy integration. So I'm just going to put all my little drops in here, and then we'll go from here. So CATSL is our state SEL organization that has created these 5 SEL competencies that Palm Beach County models after. So when we look at these 5 competencies, we're looking at the 5 areas that are explicitly taught through various curriculum in grades K through 12. So when we think about these 5 competencies, morning meeting is probably the most familiar thing you'll hear, and that's the vehicle that we use in elementary and middle school to be able to help instruct our students in these 5 areas. So the curriculum we use is Sanford Harmony, possibly second step at some schools. That's the curriculum integrated in morning meeting that helps teach these 5 SEL competencies. And then you'll notice within the wheel, these 5 competencies, they're in different colors, and they're done that way for a certain reason. You'll see obviously self-awareness and self-management in orange, because that's those skills that we're teaching our students to be able to have that self-regulation skill, to be able to have that awareness of their thoughts and feelings and actions, and that self-management. The green hitting on those social aspects of social awareness, relationship skills. And then the yellow being able to have a culminating effect of both of them, right? A little bit of self-management and a little bit of social awareness to make those responsible decisions. And then as we scale out, how do we teach, how do we ensure that these 5 SEL competencies are explicitly taught? We look at SEL curriculum, Stanford Harmony, second step, and we look at that common goal of having that instruction on a daily basis through a morning meeting. We look at school-wide practices and policies. That's we're looking at how is our school helping to promote and build and have that commitment and fidelity of use of those vehicles that drive the morning meeting and that SEL curriculum. And then look at family and community partnerships. How are we able to have that diversity and family expertise to ensure that SEL is taught in culturally relevant ways? Which brings me to this, our castle wheel. The castle wheel now has been upgraded with an equity lens. This actually literally just came out not that long ago, about 3 weeks ago. And we want to really be able to look at SEL through the lens of equity. Being able to see, a couple of changes to this wheel as we put that new lens on there. Looking at authentic partnerships, aligned learning opportunities within the community. We're looking at SEL curriculum that's tied to SEL instruction. And my favorite thing about this wheel, classroom climate, and to be able to encompass equity for all students in a safe and inclusive learning environment. The classroom culture piece, that was missing on that wheel, and that's there. And that classroom culture is going to be able to help the students feel safe, engaged, and ready to learn when it comes to the integration piece. So that being said, now that we have that broader knowledge, now let's dive right into how it aligns with literacy. So if there's a lot of stuff in this slide, so please don't feel like you have to go through this and read this as fast as you can with me. I'm going to share this slide deck out so that way you all are able to take these slides, be able to share it with your team at your school, and be able to share these thoughts and ideas for integration. But each of these slides here, I'm going to break down each of those 5 competencies and show you how we can actually integrate literacy within each of those 5 CASEL competencies. So when we look at SEL self-awareness, right, we're looking at identifying different feelings and emotions and feeling confident. That's what self-awareness is. So how can we incorporate that into literacy? We'll think about self-awareness. We can provide a purpose for reading, being able to provide those prompts for students to answer questions as they listen to a text being read to them that maybe captures how they feel in those parts of the story and what made them feel that way. Setting that purpose right away when we start reading and being able to have that common understanding of, what are we feeling as we're reading this text, whether it's being read to us or we're reading it ourselves. Thinking about how you can even take it up a notch, right? Think about how can students identify feelings and emotions, not just for themselves, but for other characters in the story. And how can we provide evidence to support their thinking? Thinking about those feelings for ourselves and others is a big key to self-awareness, and we can easily incorporate that in through either something read to us or something that they're reading on their own. When we look at self-management, we're looking at and thinking about managing feelings, not just identifying feelings like in the last slide. I'm talking about managing our feelings and emotions, self-regulation, looking at goal setting, stress management. How could this look in literacy? Well, maybe something as simple as goal setting at the beginning of each trimester or the start of a unit even. Think about this. Have students set a goal of where they want to be in relation to a mastery of an RL or an RI standard, right? Think about before they even cover that standard, or before you cover that standard, have them set a goal where they want to be with that at the end of the course of 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Even thinking about at the beginning of the year, where they want to be with their writing, reading record level. Having them set that goal and having that growth mindset. I can get there, right? In addition, how are students doing when they're reading a challenging and rigorous text? Really having those discussions with them around a big word on this slide, perseverance. My favorite word when it comes to self-management, perseverance. Being able to show them they have strategies that they have learned that they can use when they are stuck, and use that growth mindset, and having those discussions about perseverance and growth mindset and how they can utilize that, as they are, doing the reading on their own, or even if they're listening to something read to them. And then we can also even extend that to thinking about a character who is persevering through a situation, tying it back into that context of the story. So everything that we can see revolving around managing feelings and goal setting, and having those authentic conversations about how is that self-management, and what aspects of self-management do we see in our characters. Then on the social side of it, social awareness. When we think about social awareness, think about discovering commonalities, respecting differences, appreciating diversity, showing compassion and empathy. While reading a text with the students, think about, or even if the student is reading independently for that matter, have the students make connections with the characters. Ask them, how would they respond if they were in that same situation as a character, making that really high DOK level jump. While selecting books to read with the students even, or putting books out for students to pick from in whatever capacity that looks right now in your classroom, make sure that books are selected intentionally with many different characters from many different identities. Think back to that equity piece and that equity lens that we're looking at through CASTLE right now. It's important that books are mirrors and windows, it says, to help children see themselves, mirrors, and learn about people who are different than they are, the windows. That's big in SEL, and that can be very easily identified and really discussed through literacy. This can lead to discussions on empathy, understanding how a character's perspective might be different from yours, and how a character's point of view could compare and contrast to your point of view, right? Perspective and point of view, two really big parts of our literacy standards. And then when we think about relationship skills, right? We're thinking about, inclusive, considerate, apologizing and forgiving, all the important things that revolve around conflict resolution. My favorite part in here, think about book clubs or work groups even. We can still do that in a distance learning environment, maybe even in breakout sessions. Think about how we can collaborate and develop group norms or shared agreements. This is where that comes into play. Setting group norms and shared agreements around book club roles and responsibilities, that'll keep everybody in check and be successful. That'll be that way that they can make sure that they are being responsible for themselves and have that, that ownership. And that goes right back to all the skills of relationship skills. So while reading a text even, we can invite students to think about relationships between characters and ask questions such as, can you think of a particular event or dialogue or action that had a significant role in the relationship development between characters, and then support it with evidence? Or, if the story has different cultures, how do those cultural differences, how do they impact the relationships between those characters? Great ways to be able to, bridge that gap with, making conversations and being inclusive. And then last but not least, responsible decision making, right? The culminating, SEL competency with self and social. We think about, the big three: avoiding jumping to conclusions, making a plan to solve a problem, and taking responsibility. So thinking about in literacy, you can have the students discuss what a character experienced or to overcome a challenge, or reflect on how a character's choices affected what happened in their future. And then we can think about how the character demonstrated qualities of even being a good citizen. All really rich discussions that revolve around those responsible decisions. You can even dig deep into those discussions and think about maybe how the character made, or think about the decision that characters made throughout the text, and then even synthesize how those decisions affected other characters, whether it be positively or negatively, directly or indirectly. Talk about hitting a DOK high standard, right? That would be an ideal conversation to have to really see how deep they really got into the understanding of the text, as well as making that connection to responsible decision making. So I say all that to bring it back to here. Integrating SEL should really happen very simply in morning meeting, because now that we have this understanding of how it can be used, right? What does it look like? How do I do this? What's my next step, right? Whether you're elementary or middle school, morning meeting is an integral part of SEL instruction, and it's how we deliver the SEL instruction with our schools. Even if your school isn't using morning meeting, you can still use these 4 components to start your day at the beginning of the day to really get those students in that mindset ready to learn. I'm going to share this slideshow with you, so I'm not going to belabor this and read every part of it, but just know that the morning meeting has the greeting, the share, an activity, and a teacher message as the 4 components to morning meeting. My 2 favorite parts to integrate SEL with literacy: adjective greetings, my favorite greeting in the world. All it is the student greets another student by using an adjective that describes them that starts with the same letter as their first name. So like, for example, on Michael, hopefully somebody would say, "Good morning, marvelous Michael," although some have said the name mischievous Michael, even though I don't really know how that applies because I'm not very mischievous, but nonetheless, just having that adjective greeting to be able to really capture, their classmates and just be able to have that time to be able to use that literacy component and just have fun with it. And my favorite activity, a quote share out. So think about, if you read a text yesterday in class, or even if a student read and had an independent reading assignment, for a quick activity, have a student pull out one quote or one phrase from the text that they just previously read and share it with another student in your class and explain why that quote was so meaningful to them. I get it. We're in a hybrid model, so it might not be as simple as getting up and walking to the student. This could be easily done on Jamboard. Put a sticky note on Jamboard. Tell me your favorite quote and tell me why. Unmute yourself and tell me why. Or share out and make commonalities and differences between each other. Very simple to do. Great way to incorporate literacy into morning meeting. Perfect way to be able to have that integration piece. I didn't forget about writing. So obviously we want to integrate SEL into ELA, right? So we have that writing component to it. Obviously SEL isn't going to lend itself very well to essay writing, I get it. However, SEL with writing journal prompts could definitely be an area that we can explore. So again, you're going to get this slide deck. So, I'm just going to share, oh man, the little tab button's not there for me. Well, at any rate, you can look through this when you get the slide deck. Basically, what this is there are multiple journal prompts on here that tie into SEL. When you would open up, for example, one of the prompts on here just says, "What does this quote mean to you?" And the quote says, "Gratitude and attitude are not challenges, they are choices." And they can respond, in writing about what that quote means to them. There's another one on there. It says, "4 things that make you smile. List them out." They can write about the 4 things that make them smile. And again, this goes for K to 5, right? So just depending on, what prompt would be most grade level appropriate to you, but definitely that writing piece can be integrated very easily. And these journal prompts, pick a couple and put it in your morning meeting. This would be an ideal prompt to use as your activity piece of the morning meeting. And there you go. There's your SEL writing integration along, with everything else that you're doing to support that particular theme or competency for the week. And last but not least, I want to wrap up by talking about this. So I compiled a list of recommended books that have a specific focus to an SEL theme. So a little while ago, remember I said that be very intentional in the books that you choose to read with your students or put in that library, because we want to make sure that we have a purpose to why we chose that. Remember going back and thinking about that equity lens. So I pulled this list from our National Organization for SEL, which is CASEL, of course, and they gave some recommended texts for each of the 5 competencies. So I put them here. I put just a couple of the recommended texts for each of the SEL themes and competencies. And these texts will offer plenty of opportunities for discussion around maybe characters' thoughts, words, actions, as it relates to that skill or competency that you're trying to cover for that week. So this is a recommended text that you can use to kind of guide your discussions and be able to really focus in on particular SEL competencies. So please feel free to share this back with your team and just be able to have a discussion about, what book could we pull if we know that a specific class, or maybe even a specific group of students in a social skills group, maybe in that tier 2 intervention, needs help in social awareness or relationship skills. This would be a great go-to for you. So that being said, resources for today, definitely a big shout out to our Palm Beach County Schools District Social Emotional Learning Support Team. They definitely have a lot of resources on their Blender resource page, which is where the 5 SEL competencies chart came from. So shout out to them, as well as shout out to our CASEL organization for those lists of wonderful resources from the trade book section. With that being said, I know I used up most of my time, but just a couple minutes, if anybody has any questions about anything covered in our SEL and literacy integration piece, please feel free to unmute and ask away.
I have a question, Michael.
Yes.
So that wonderful adjective thing that everybody does.
Oh, yes.
Does everybody do that? And do all the students do that? Or just like maybe you and Christine are picked, you know, for that day? Because if there were 30 students, that might be difficult to do.
Yeah, exactly. And so pre-COVID, what I would do is I would just have the students get up and move around the room, and then at that point they would just go up to. I would always say find 5, classmates and give them an adjective greeting for that morning. So they would all go around and go like great. Now in the hybrid model, I've seen this work out using Google Slides. There's an add-on tool called Pear Deck, and Pear Deck makes everything interactive. So the students can actually type a response on the slide that you're showing them. And so the students would type in, their adjective greeting for each other, and then the teacher would be able to share that up on the smart panel so everybody could see it. They could also use Jamboard and do that as a sticky note and that everybody could see. Or they could do it in the chat box. And then they could greet, 3 or 4 students in that adjective greeting, and everybody could see it and share it. So definitely ways we can get around it in the model we're in now.
That part, because that's inspirational. So now I've called you marvelous, Michael, and then, hey, then that makes somebody else think, hey, I want to say spectacular Susie,
Yes.
stinky Susie, or, something like that. So it would
Right.
give them that inspiration to pick something positive and lovely. So I really love that.
Yes. That was always one of my favorites when I was in the classroom. That was my go-to morning meeting greeting. If I had nothing else planned for the day that I could use for that theme or competency, I would always go to that.
But it's from child to child, so to speak, or from child to a couple. It's keeping it individualized.
Yeah.
Like it's not like something you're doing with the whole class, so to speak, in front of everybody.
Exactly.
Okay, I love it.
Thank you.
And those are the things that a compliment that goes a long way that a child will never forget because it's something specific to them. And sometimes they live up to that adjective.
Absolutely. Wow. Cool. Love it. Love it.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Do we have any more questions, or if you have any comments or anything, you can write in the chat box. And I already saw there's been a lot of great comments in the chat box with strategies. And I love the book list, Michael. Everything has been great. And I know that we could definitely take this back to our schools and we could integrate it and use it in so many different ways. So thank you again, Michael, for coming tonight. That was great. And we will put the stuff, the documents, like you said, on the page when we post everything.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much.
But Michael, you have to add my books to that list, honey.
Oh, done.
There we go.
I'm getting to see your presentation.
I'll get with Michael on that, Julie.
Perfect. All right. Making connections. That's what this is all about. So that leads into our next guest. And our next guest is author Julie Woik, who wrote a successful book series about character building called The Life and Times of Lily the Lash, a gift that gifts back to the world. So Julie, I'm excited to hear all about this whenever you're ready, if you're ready to present.
Terrific. I am going to go straight to the PowerPoint program that I have. And if I can even see here properly. And if anybody has any questions at any point, feel free to ask, because I'm in control of the slides, so we can stop at any minute. The title of my little presentation is Lily the Lash Children's Books, a Gift That Gives Back to the World. And I'd love to take 100% credit for that tagline, but it actually came from customers over the last 14 years approaching me after purchasing the books and getting a chance to feel them and see them at school or with their grandchildren or whatever, and coming back to me and saying, oh dear Lord, we just thought it was a gift, that we just thought it was a book, but recognizing that it was so much more. And this is how it's so much more. It starts out as a gift of love to a child. It's a book, okay? But then they realize that it's a gift of words and wonder, a gift of a good character lesson, a gift of a sound self-esteem builder. And the result of that is a gift of a happy, healthy, strong person whose mindful caring and kindness gives back to the world. And that's what we need. I mean, it's just absolutely what we need. So my character building book series, The Life and Times of Lily the Lash, presently has 6 books in the series. Each book takes place in a different location, teaching a different character, a different life lesson. We're working on book 7, which will be about responsibility, and we're going for a series of 15. So there'll be empathy and patience and perseverance, Michael, perseverance. So I'm going to get on some of those other ones at one step at a time. My main character is an eyelash, and I know that's rather odd, but let me quickly show you how Lily makes these books a success. This will be helpful in understanding how even an eyelash can teach good character. My books follow a pattern. Lily arrives in style. Children love the quirky, enthusiastic arrivals to each of her new locations because Lily always flies in a different and unusual way. Lily stumbles and fumbles. In every episode, she has a bit of a mishap, and children can see that she's a bit clumsy or imperfect, just like the rest of us. This immediately sets everybody in sync with Lily and makes them feel comfortable. Lily is understood. Lily is an eyelash. Well, how weird is that? So in every episode, as I start the story, I then go back in time for 5 paragraphs to explain who she is, where did she come from, why is she around, and what is she teaching us? And that helps children understand who Lily is. And it also provides an opportunity for you to pick any book in any order. You don't have to choose book 1, book 2, book 3 in order. You can choose them as you care to. Lily makes a home. In every episode, she needs a place to stay. And although it's temporary, she needs to find that little spot. Children find the unique locations entertaining, and she can go anywhere. She's an eyelash. Lily finds the issue. Lily discovers the problem at hand, and children know that these issues are very real. It could be everything from a sunflower looking in the mirror and recognizing that she's way bigger than everyone else in the garden and she has no self-worth. It could be a milk carton who's a bully to everybody else in the kitchen and needs to learn about respect. So these are always real issues that are happening that we're all experiencing in life. Lily devises a plan. In every episode, Lily writes a plan. She watches from a distance and then she writes that plan. And children know that it's important to find the best way to handle a tough situation. So each book in plan, the first book was plan A, second book of plan B, plan C, and so forth until we get to book 15, which will be plan O. And in that plan, she includes what's happening, who she's sending in, and the conclusion of what's going to happen to the result of setting things straight. Lily sends in a helper. Lily never fixes anyone. Children recognize how an outsider can help us see the light. So these are the different characters in these 6 books that come into that episode to help that character who's struggling learn the lesson. And parents and educators love this because it's not a quick fix. Lily's not fixing us. We have to learn the lesson ourselves, and so do we in life. Lily opens their eyes. Lily is magical, but children understand that she doesn't make the problem magically go away. Once the lesson is learned, she offers a gift to help them see the world and themselves as they should. So once the lesson is learned, Lily sprinkles that character. She turns back into an eyelash and she sprinkles that character with their own magical eyelash so they can help see and make good choices in the future. Lily lets the healing begin. Lily is pleased with everyone's hard work. Children want a resolution to set things straight. They often see themselves in these characters. These are real things happening. These are real situations, and children love that because they can relate. Lily moves on. Once Lily's job is complete, a new journey awaits. Children want to know, where will she go? Who will she meet? And what are we going to learn? Now, Lily is the main character in the series, but all of the characters help children learn very important life lessons. And that's really important because I have a 50-50 following, boy and girl. Lily isn't this pink, frilly fairy. She's actually only seen by the reader, and they understand that her job is to just send someone in to help that character learn the lesson. Who enjoys these books? Well, it's boys and girls 0 to 10. It's self-read is 4 to 10. because it depends on where the child's level is, but our customer base has always been 0 to 10 from day one, because people want to instill the love of reading and teach the importance of good character from day one. This series has rhythm. I write in rhyme, and rhyming words are fun to hear, they're fun to say, and they help children remember words more easily. And I've been told I'm pretty good at it, so that's a good thing. What's inside besides the story? Let's take a look. There's 3 things at the end of every story. First of all, it's fun facts, 9 fun facts for each book in the series. Little interesting tidbits regarding the characters or elements in the book. Educators and parents love this because it's something else to review. It might be refrigerators from the 1960s, what it was like back then. It might be a toy that was brought out in the 1700s, where dollhouses came from. Just different kinds of things that are fun to review and to go over. The teaser, it's a little glimpse into Lily's next exciting adventure. Children anticipate this. It's the title of the next story, the first 3 paragraphs, where she's going and what we're going to learn. And they get excited about that because they can't wait to get the next story. The cause, a different organization for each book in the series that we support. Presently, it's breast cancer, lung cancer, cystic fibrosis, autism, MS, and Down syndrome. Their next book, it'll be Alzheimer's. And unfortunately, everyone can relate to this. So it's just a way that we can give back to support some of these different causes that, need our help. Learning programs for each book in the Lily the Lash series. Classic classroom lesson plans, diverse direction lesson plans, and creative crafts as well. The first is Classic Classroom. These are lesson plans from pre-K to 5th grade. They're 5 in each age group for every grade level. So this is a bit of what they look like. Coloring pages, word searches, crossword puzzles. It could be comprehension. It could be a game that involves that lesson that we're learning in that book. You just have to look to see what would work for your class level. Diverse directions. There are 10 for each book. These are a bit more intense. They're motivational. They can be used for ADHD, autism, similar hurdles, or just somebody struggling with an issue. But it's going to be something more specific to that particular lesson that we need to learn. So you just have to take it up and check it out. For example, the one in the middle is giving a child a circumstance that maybe they're experiencing and they're doing, but it's a little bit of a situation. Then it asks them, hey, what would you do if Sonny was doing this? It makes them be able to pull back and not feel defensive, and they're able to maybe see the story or the situation in a bit of a different light. Creative crafts. There's 3 crafting ideas for every book. No big deal, but it's just something to help a physical thing that you guys can make. Special needs classes like to do this because it's something physical that helps the child remember what we're learning in that particular lesson. Peek and seek. These are 20 questions or comments that I make, and I ask questions for each book. So the children have to go back in and rediscover the book. For example, the toy store. One of the characters in this book was born in another country. What is the clue that gives us away, and what is the country? So they've got to go back into that book and really look through the cool illustrations and check out what that is. Art with Heart on the right side. There are 4 jars of paint Pibbledy pencil uses to destroy Bellamy Brush's painting. Name all 4. So they have to really get involved with that book and go back in and really start using their brains, and there's 20 per thing. And in some cases, they'll have, 2-3 answers for each thing. Lily's motivational wall board game. It's called Lily's Garden of Growth. You print it, it's free. Put it on the wall. Children start at the bottom by the ladybugs, and they're going to move forward and do things like brush their teeth, make their beds, do chores at home. At school, they would do things like proper hall behavior, clean the classroom, stay in a straight line. They're going to get a reward at the birdhouse, the watering can, and the wheelbarrow, but then get a bigger reward when they get to the end of the moon. Now, if you're going to play it at home, which is great because we can tie these together. Kids are structured at home, and now they're structured at school. At home, they would play individually. We have 9 pieces that they can be and put their name on, and then be who they want to be and play the board. If they're going to do it at school and you have 30 kids, then you can do it in teams. So now peer pressure comes into play. Hey, stay, straight in the line. We want to move forward 2 spaces when we get back from lunch. So it's a good motivational board game. This is called Sunny Signs. It's just an introduction to sign language. It's free to print the poster. Once you print the poster, you can print the alphabet. You're going to learn the alphabet, and then you do 20, take those petals off, and then now you're going to start with 26 words. Please, thank you, eat, drink, mother, father, more, that type of thing. I have 3 ways to do an author visit. This is the traditional way where I actually come in-house and teach everyone and talk all the way from pre-K to 5th grade. It's an all-day event. But right now with COVID, that's kind of not an option. So we've moved on to digital author visits. There is a 30-minute session, which often is which parents and grandparents choose because they want to just have their children meet the author and have a discussion. But the schools are choosing the 60-minute sessions in which I read a story, we talk about the lesson, we discuss reading, the importance of reading and writing, and then we just get to ask each other. It's different than a school visit because the kids feel more, they can ask me where I live and, am I married? And, where do I write in that room where I am? Just things that they wouldn't ask when I'm at a school. So it's kind of cool to have that different interaction. And then last but not least is the author visit video. It's a 16-minute author experience. It's only $5 and it's just a download. Here's the commercial.
Can you guys hear that?
No.
Julie, the sound is off on that.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I don't know why that is the case because it should have been, it's all the way up. Well, anyway, it is an author video in which I talk to the children and then I read a story. Then we talk about what happened in the story. We talk about the lesson and we talk about the importance of reading and why do we care about books? What's the importance of that? So it's a quick 16-minute video in which they get to engage with the author, and it's only a $5 download. Last but not least, I have a Lily the Lash and Friends podcast program. Now, it is my podcast, but it isn't because Lily the Lash is the host. It's unique because she gets an opportunity to address stories shared by children around the globe and speaks to their many good deeds or countless challenges. So children write a letter, and then this is how the podcast goes. They're about 8 minutes long, and Lily in the beginning explains who she is and why she's talking to them. She then explains that somebody has sent an important letter and gives the name of the child and their age and, first name, I should say, age and where they come from. And then she reads the letter, and then in the end, she talks to everyone about, she just gives reassurance. She supports them. If it's a good deed, she talks about how wonderful and motivating that is. If it's a challenge, everybody gets to talk about the challenges. And there's lots of different ones. There's everything from acceptance and social distance anxiety to fear of the dark. It might be mindfulness, honesty. There's just so many that the children get to do. So it's an opportunity for the children to share their story, to help them understand that they're not alone. They can listen to it by themselves or with others. It's all family friendly, so they can listen to it by themselves. If they're listening with others, it can be done in the classroom, and then they can discuss it. Hey, we're all experiencing this. Does anybody have anything to say about what's happened here? It's an excellent writing exercise. It gives children an opportunity to write Lily the Lash a letter about either something that they're upset about or that they don't like that's going on, or that a good deed that they've done, which is certainly motivating to everyone else. And of course, they get featured on the podcast. So it's good for their self-esteem as well. So that's about it. Does anyone have any questions? And I'm going to turn off my beeping phone over here for some reason. It has been beeping. Sorry about that. So, any questions?
Mine's more a comment, but I love that Michael, you and Julie both make that writing and reading connection, which I think is so important through journal writing and then the podcast. They're actually writing to an actual character of a book. And then, Julie, did you talk about how you choose somebody and then they're on the podcast? Did you?
It depends. I mean, if it's a real delicate situation, I've gotten some letters that, just it would be hard to cover it, sexual
Right.
abuse. Yeah, I want to be
Right.
careful about what we're, I know that that's a real thing, and I know that kids would like to, but that's a really hard way to get and and to expose that in a very
Right.
positive light /
Right.
make it okay. So
But they're actually able to express themselves too, to you.
But no matter what, I write them back because the letters usually come via email. So I write them back and I say to them, wow, thank you for this fantastic letter, still acknowledging that they have sent that letter and still acknowledging that they've made that effort to do that, even if I can't use it on a podcast.
Right, right. That's awesome. I love that. I love that voice that the children have and the expression that they can make.
Yeah, and they're really cool. I mean, there was a boy who wrote me that I recently did, and it was called Bitter About Litter. And he just hated that people littered. And so him and his parents started cleaning up the park where they would go to. And then he started this whole campaign at school of that everybody on a certain day is, during the week, they go out and it's kind of a main drag. And so people go by and they litter. And he just can't understand what the devil, why is everybody littering, period.
Right. So they're looking at issues and then they're able to act on those issues too. So they're
absolutely. So
acknowledging it, but they're doing, which I love that. So
yeah, he even got a shirt. His mom bought him a shirt that says "Bitter About Litter." So he's actually explaining to children what bitter means. Because I believe he was only like 8 or 9, and so he's actually explaining to children at school, hey, what bitter means, and that he's not happy about it. And then they all started cleaning up their school and loving it.
Right. That's great.
Julie?
Yeah.
How long does it take you to write your book?
Well, the first one took me 2 weeks. And then the second one took me a bit longer because I still had a job for at the time being. But usually it's only 2 weeks.
Really?
I sit on my bed. I turn off the TV. I don't want to hear any music. And it's writing, and that's all it is. I get stuck sometimes, so there's a couple cups of coffee or pots of coffee involved. So I get up and have to walk away for a bit, and then I'll come back and I'll read what I have, and it'll be like, what? Oh my God, it doesn't even go. It's not even going to work. Sometimes I write a paragraph and then I have to move it down for later, or maybe change it to work for what I need. It does happen as well that when we're illustrating it, that we will change something at that time, because the illustrator will explain to me that that's not going to work. You're talking about something way over there, and then you're talking about something right here. And if you want both of them in the same image, we can't do that. Now, we have a clever thing that we've done with my books. Almost every other page does this. One's a full page illustration, and then, which is this. It's easier for me to just show you. One's a full page illustration and is going to give you the entire thing all on one page. Okay.
Okay.
And there's the 2-part illustration where the words are usually in the middle, and the top 2 sentences go to the top part and the bottom 2 sentences go to the bottom bit. And that's really cool because it's offered an opportunity for so many more illustrations to keep their attention. I would start saying in the beginning to my illustrator, oh, do this and do that. And he's like, well, Julie, it's not a movie. It's a book. You know, kind of stick with the program, you know, you gotta stick with what your point is. So I had to learn how to kind of think. And now when I write, I think ahead of how that would be, because sometimes, even though mine are really kind of deep and getting the kids to really go there, my things are about feelings and emotions and stuff. I think ahead of time of where I'm going to go with that. But my part is easy. Mine's usually only 2 weeks. It's the illustration that takes about like a year. You know, these illustrations are so cool. And I often know what I want on that page. Like when I was doing this particular page, I knew it was very, very much about the emotions that were going on and the upsetting emotions that were going on. And I needed that to be on there. And again, my stuff's kind of deep. Like this is about jealousy. And this is about the pencil, Pibbledy pencil, breaking out of those chains, breaking out of those chains of jealousy and being able to release herself from those feelings that she didn't have to feel like that. So even though it's only still taking me 2 weeks, I'm really starting to be more focused on what it is that I want the image to look like when it comes out as well.
Oh, that is so interesting.
Yeah, because I think that when you first start, you don't think about that. I had a woman come to me and she had a kind of a cool book, but there was just no way. It was so conceptual, and it was kind of, it was slightly religious, but it was very spiritual, and it was very, and I just kept saying to her, sweetheart, where are you going to go with this? How are you going to get that on paper to be understood? And she got it. She understood, you know, she knew I wasn't trying to be mean to her. I was just saying, I'm just telling you, the illustrator's going to tell you this. You know? So it's interesting what you learn as you're moving along. You know, I've learned quite a bit, I'll tell you. Wow.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's great because a lot of people want to write a book. So when I'm out selling my books, people will come to me and ask me questions, and that's absolutely fine. If they really want to sit down and really want to get into it and want to write the book for sure, and they want to make it happen, then I also offer services to sit. I have people that they can connect to, or just simply explain to them how it's going to go, and that no 2,000 people on day one are not going to be at Barnes & Noble waiting in line to sign, you know, get a signed book. Even with Simon & Schuster and Scholastic, this no longer happens. They just don't do it like that. So it's just good to have somebody who is going to tell them the truth about it. I mean, it's not a terrible experience by any means, but it might not be the experience that you think it's going to be. And we don't want anyone sitting with a whole, you know, 5,000 books in their garage and no place to sell them.
Yeah.
So to know how to be able to market them and where they're going to go from here.
Well, I love the books, I have to say. I love them.
Thank
So
you.
where are they available at?
You know, I didn't even put the thing up because, you know, I just didn't even do that. I realized in the end he had some links that, you know, I thought I didn't even put a link. It's lilythelash.com, and Lily has 2 L's, LILLYTHELASH. She's an eyelash. So it's just www.lilythelash.com. And so they're on the website, they're on Amazon, they're on Etsy, they're on Teachers Pay. Well, the hardcover's not on Teachers Pay Teachers, as you all know. They don't sell hardcover things. But on the audio and DVDs and my teacher, the author visit that was muted for some reason. I don't know why they did that. Good to know. That those are all on Teachers Pay Teachers, the teacher lesson plans. So the teacher lesson plans, we offer them individually for free on Teachers Pay Teachers, but then they can pay 99 cents if they want the whole bundle. But they're for free. Go to my website and get them for free. So you don't have to pay for anything. You just go to the website, there's an Apple, and that's the learning lessons. And the website's quite easy. And if you have any questions, you can contact me at any time. And if anybody wants to buy sets or more sets for their school or whatever, do not order them online. Contact me, because I can do the discount and get everything organized for you and get you the best deal possible. I am the publisher, so I can do what I want. So it's all good. You know, I just talked to a gentleman who was published by Simon & Schuster. And I actually met with the president of the children's department of Simon & Schuster some years ago. And he said to me that I had the best rhyme that he had ever read in all of his life. He said, I have never read better rhyme than this. He said, wow. He said, fantastic. But yeah, he said the problem with rhyme for them was if a book is successful, they want to make it international, and they want to make it in different languages. And of course, rhyme often can't do that. You know, the words just don't match up. So that was his reason for kind of saying, you know, I don't know that that would work. But I had already decided, as much as he was so kind to me and all the kind words, that Simon & Schuster, a big publishing company, was not going to be for us. We wanted to offer too many things for free, and we wanted to really be an educator's, you know, choice. So, you know, publishing companies are nice, and they'll give you a coloring page here and there, but they're not offering, you know, our podcasts are free. You know, teachers can play these 1,000,000 times in the classrooms every year with the students and see what they want to react to them. The kids could write a letter if they wanted to, after listening to a podcast, that they want to talk about the podcast and say what it did for them and how it changed their lives. I get to go out, I do art and craft shows, and I get to meet the coolest people. I have kids who come up to me, and I had this like 6-year-old girl comes up to the table, and I have plaques that sit by my books, and they say, you know, an octopus learns about honesty, or, you know, a sunflower learns about self-worth. And she comes up to it and she goes, yeah, I have Asperger's, and I can use all of these lessons. Mama, come here. And she yells to grandma to come over, and they bought the book. I mean, just kids are just spectacular. They are so brilliant and so fun and so inspiring. And I get some of my ideas from myself. I have ideas of where I want to go with stuff, but I often have ideas from educators saying to me, Julie, oh my goodness. One is I just did number 5, I did balance. Was a little bit concerned. My best friend is a therapist, and she said to me, Julie, I'm not sure that schools teach balance very often. I'm not sure you want to do that. She said, please ask some educators. And when I went to the educators, they were like, oh my God, hurry up. You know, we absolutely can use a lesson about balance. So it's all in the way the illustrations help the child understand exactly what balance is and why it's important in our world. But kids are giving me ideas too. Best one is had a child come up to me, 3rd grader in Wisconsin. And he said to me, you know, you should have Lily go inside the body. I said, go inside the body. How would that work? And he said, well, say that you have a stomach ache and the stomach doesn't want to go to school that day. Maybe all the other body parts help the stomach realize that it's going to be okay. And I'm not kidding. I stood right then and there and I looked at all the teachers that were standing around, the principal and the librarian, and I said, okay, he does not get credit for this. I am so right in that book and he will not get any credit. Because it was just too unbelievable. Wow. And the teachers all said that this was a child who was super smart, sat in the back of the room, hardly ever raised his hand or said anything. And here he approached me when I was around at the end of a presentation. He came up to me with all the teachers and principal around and suggested that. And they were just like mouth open going, oh my God, he never says anything. So
did you write the book on balance?
Yeah, I haven't, I'm not sure. You know, the thing is that you got to remember thinking ahead. You have to think, how many different things can we have when we're inside the body? You know, it's going to be a lot of red. You know, now, you know, a good illustrator could probably think outside of the box there, but I mean, that's going to be a tough go. When we're in an environment like the kitchen, you want a close up of the milk carton, then you want the cupboardry in it, then you want, you know, some, the refrigerator. You know, you have to think that in a kitchen, you only have so many places that you can, you know, go, and you don't want to make it boring. You got to keep it going. So it could be difficult, but I just thought it was such a brilliant, you know, idea. And who hasn't had a stomach ache or a headache and said, I'm not going to go to school today because I don't feel good. And then, you know, so it was a very, very, very telling idea that young man had.
That would be a good one.
Yep.
I love that. Before I say my thank yous to everybody, Miss Sumner, you were going to do something really quick. Are you ready to do that? Oh, is she there?
Oh, did she leave?
Yeah.
Okay.
We will thank everybody for coming. And with that, we are going to do a quick raffle. And what we are going to do is we're going to have 3 winners. And the first 2 winners are going to get ebooks. And you get to choose which Julie Woik ebook you would like, and we would purchase it for you and send it over to your email. So, and then the third one would be a book of PD books. So let's see who our first winner of Julie's ebooks will be. Julie, you can't win your own book, so we're gonna have to roll again.
Please.
Michelle. Michelle's our winner.
Me?
Congratulations.
Yay! Yay! I'm so excited.
Awesome.
All right, Michelle, congrats. Here's another one. The host can't win either.
I'm glad we're not
But
playing.
you will be getting PD books, Kristen.
All right. I'm buying some DVD books.
Suhei, please send me a chat in the chat box picking which ebook you would like to have.
know. Did she might have dropped out? I don't know. She was here.
Is she still there?
No, she isn't.
Just in
Oh,
case,
no.
we'll do one more.
Okay.
Murphy? Murphy is our winner. Congratulations,
Yay.
Murphy.
Yay, Murphy.
Woohoo! All right.
Here are the choices. Let us know which book you would like. Book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and they can just go on the website, you guys, to check it out. When you go in the sky up above, then you can click on that book. And we just started finishing the trailer for the 6th one, but there's a book trailer for each one that's going to give you an overview quickly and explain what the scoop is for that particular book.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much to Michael and Julie today. Thank you for putting together some fantastic presentations. We learned a lot tonight. We appreciate it. I want to go and buy some of your books, Julie. I'm excited about it. We are very thankful. This is our first digital PD, so thank you everyone for putting this together. This has been a great time. We had a good time putting it together, and I hope you enjoyed it. So I just want to finish up the meeting with sending it over to Christine. Our president wants to say a last few-minute word. Oh, unmute, Christine.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, just special thank yous. Kristen, thank you so much for coordinating tonight, for hosting, and Celia for everything you did to get the word out and coordinating as well. And to our special presenters, you both are so amazing. I'm in awe over you and everything that you're doing. Please keep doing what you're doing.
Both play nicely off, you know, all the things that Michael's talking about is what my books, you know, and the motivational board game and, you know, all the podcast, everything is tying back to our emotions and trying to make us better people for ourselves and for our world.
Right, that's
really good.
Right, you stole my words, Julie. That was really what I was going to say when I heard, when Celia told me what Michael was going to be talking about. I thought of you right away and how you just mirror what he's doing through your literature and writing. So
thing that you use, the actual graph and everything, I've used that for different presentations, literally showing that, you know, these are what we need to do and help these kids to get there.
I love it. The lessons and the strategies and all the tools you both gave us will really help us to engage with our students and make literature more fun and increase those proficiencies. I mean,
now, is everybody in your county PBIS?
Are there, this is Palm Beach County.
No, PBIS meaning, you know, positive behavioral support.
Yeah, in Palm Beach County, we dropped the I, but it's still the same thing. We'll do the PBS system, and 95% of all of our schools actually have an implementing positive behavior support system fully in place with Fidelity. So we're doing really good.
Nice.
The I threw me off a little bit. So